Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, the Common Magician, and I've got something interesting to show you. That's why you're here. I've got a deck of cards, and I would have the spectator shuffle the cards until they're happy. And once they're happy, I have them set the cards down and spread them across the table like this. And what I'm going to do is just make a quick selection. I want to pick out a couple of different cards. I'm going to take this one here, the 10 of hearts, and we'll also go nearby here. We've got the 3 of spades. I'm going to set these aside for a moment. Go ahead and close up the spread, pick up the cards. What I want to do is, I know that you mix the cards, but I want to make sure they're really mixing, that there's no way I could know where anything's at. What I want you to do is go ahead and deal one card at a time right down to the table like that. In fact, you could take several cards. If you want to take 2 cards or 3 cards, 1 card, whatever you want to do, just deal them down. You don't have to count them or anything. In fact, what I want you to do is every now and then you can shuffle the cards. Shuffle the cards all you want. You can give them a shuffle and then drop down a few more, give them another shuffle. 1 card at a time is fine. 2 cards, 3 cards, it really doesn't matter. Shuffle the cards in between. And you do this all the way until you get to the end of the deck. And then this way you know without a shadow of a doubt that everything has been shuffled. Just to be absolutely fair, I want you to spread the cards out again. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the top card, we're going to take the bottom card, and I want you to just find a spot in the middle and go ahead and slip them in. Go ahead and square the deck up. So there's no way I could know where any particular card is at all inside of this deck of cards, completely shuffled. If you don't mind, would you please cut that into 2 even piles? And then what I want you to do is I want you to pick up a pile and give it to me. And you give me a pile. I'll set this aside over here. You have 1 pile left of extremely shuffled cards. I want you to take that pile, go ahead and cut that into 2 even piles again like that, and we'll hold that for a moment. I just want to point out that you could have gone with this pile. You can see how mixed up everything is, but you went over here and you actually cut to this point right here. We'll take the card out that you cut to. You could have cut to any of these cards, but you went right here, this 1 card. Now at the beginning, from the deck that you shuffled, and shuffled again and again and again, I selected 2 cards. I took out the 10 of hearts and the 3 of spades. Not because I had a particular interest in the 10 of hearts or the 3 of spades, but I was interested in the value here, the 10, and the suit here, the spade, which if we put that together, that gives you the 10 of spades, which is a whole new identity. You've got 1 card here that you selected from a deck that you shuffled again and again and again and again. This was after I made my selections. And you ended up with the 10 of spades. So this is something I'd been reserving. There's actually quite a few things going on here. I'm sure you can recognize all or most of it. But there's one point here that I wanted to address dealing with Animan. Almost everything that you saw here is in Animan. Almost everything. In fact, everything, I believe. The only thing that's not in there is the way that I make a prediction. I decided a while ago about making predictions, taking 2 cards out that are related by value in one and suit in another. And the reason why I like doing that is for 2 reasons. It gets me 1 ahead in some effects, not in this particular one, but in some effects I'm 1 ahead. But also because it's a quick, easy way to make a prediction that is solid. It's in front of people. It's sitting. They could be face down, so people don't know what they are till the end, without having to bring in a pad of paper, writing something down, or taking another deck out or another card or something like that and having to have some other kind of apparatus involved. I can just use a regular deck of cards, take out 2 cards as a prediction, set them aside. And it's very clear to understand, very easy to understand. So that's the only thing that's kind of mine that I like to do. Everything else, though, related to this is in Animan. Some of it is material that we've already gone over, but there's 2 entries in Animan related to forcing that have the spectator mix the cards up quite thoroughly. And from that, they make a selection. If you read it in Animan the way it is in print, you'll read through it and you'll say, that's a lot of process just to make a selection. I think you have to take Animan's concepts and reverse their application. If you use these ideas, these strategies, more as a revelation rather than as a selection, they make a whole lot of sense. In fact, they're really tricks. They're entire tricks just in those couple of entries. It's a solid effect without any other extra stuff. Now, I have some other stuff layered into this example. but there are a couple of entries in there. The way they work is something like this. You want to have, I think one of the examples was to force 2 cards. Let's say we're going to force the 8 of clubs and the 3 of diamonds. You can have them set up so that they're second and third from the bottom or second and third from the top, whichever one you want. I think the top is a little bit more direct. If you set them second and third from the top, what you can do is you can have, maybe you might start this by shuffling yourself, give a top stock retention or some other kind of false shuffle, which in and of itself is a very, very, very powerful sleight. It's stupid easy to do. I've covered it before on the channel. I think I might do a series on doing magic only using that, because I think that might be interesting to some of you. You really only need to use just a simple top stock retention. Doesn't have to be a by the way, that's not a false shuffle. It's a real shuffle, but you're just retaining part of it. And it's incredibly deceptive to look at. Even as a magician, even when you know about in jogs and out jogs and all that stuff, it's something that it's kind of like some other concepts we deal with in magic that magicians don't really think about. And I think has a lot of application. You could false shuffle it, but you don't have to. Decks like that, you've got these set up. You're going to be forcing these 2 cards here, the 8 of clubs, 3 of diamonds. They're second and third from the top. Give the spectator the deck. Have them deal cards as if they're counting. I believe Animan actually suggests that they cut off a pack, so they could cut off a pack of cards and then have them deal as if to count the cards. I think it even recommends so they count the cards out. It really doesn't matter what the number is going to be, but they end up counting through all of the cards. Now keep in mind what has happened. We've now reversed the order, which means that our force cards are second and third from the bottom. This seems much like a shuffle, though. They've just counted it. They took a section of cards that they had a choice on. They counted them through. There's a lot of busy stuff going on here. And then it says have them take the top card and put it in the middle, and take the bottom card and put it in the middle. And then from there, you can force the bottom and the second from bottom card just by having them turn it over, take them off. You could reverse this concept if you're having them count. They could cut off, if you have it second and third from the bottom, they could cut off, take the bottom cards, and then count them out, and that will put it on the top. And then once they put the top card in the bottom and the bottom card in, top in the middle and the bottom in the middle, now you're set for the top 2 cards to be the 2 force cards. You can hand those out. So that's the concept. It is the idea that you have a directed shuffle. You're really directing them to shuffle the cards in some way, and it seems quite foolproof. It looks very, very fair. Now, what I'm adding to this is the concept that you could have it second from the top. So follow with me. They shuffle the cards. They spread the cards. You get a glimpse of the second from the top, which in this case is the Queen of Diamonds, at which point you make the prediction, right? So I'm justified in looking at the spread because I'm going to take some cards out. I'm not even touching the cards, but I reach in, I take out the other red queen, or any queen really, as long as it's not the, well, I guess it doesn't matter. I'll take out the red, take out any queen, and then I take out a diamond. So the 3 of diamonds. You may want to do this in the opposite color just to keep it clear. It doesn't really matter. I've got this one. So I've got my Queen of Hearts and I've got a diamond card. That's going to be my prediction. I just set that aside. I don't say much about it. I'm going to try to get this into play. So they close up the spread and then I say, go ahead and deal the cards down to the table. And after they get past the second one, say, in fact, you can do 2 or 3 cards at a time if you want. So 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5. You can even do a chunk of cards. In fact, you can even shuffle the deck. Now, what we've done is we've controlled the first few cards very meticulously into place. But everything after that has been a jumbled mess, right? So they go on, they can shuffle whenever they want, they can deal as many as they want. You'll find that they're going to speed up and drop larger chunks of cards so that they can get through this process, and it's all mixed up. A couple people that use this sort of strategy from Animan that I've seen, Ben Earl has a trick that is almost really this. He had a trick I saw a number of years ago where the entire presentation really is just almost exactly the script from Animan, using that procedure to force a card I think from the bottom. I think in the end he had the spectator turn it over and take a peek at the bottom card. It was forced into play using that procedure. The other one, of course, Danny De Ortiz uses a very similar kind of control and then a spectator shuffling, often to control not just cards on an end, but often he'll do it to control cards in the middle. Using kind of a variation of what he refers to as the island shuffle, which is a Leonard Green sort of concept. So now we're here where our card is forced second from the bottom. So now at this point, you can have them take the top card, put it somewhere in the middle, take the bottom card, put it somewhere in the middle. So there's no way you could know the top or the bottom. Everything is mixed up. Have them cut the cards. I added some equivoque, which is also in Animan. Very simple application of equivoque. Pick up a pile and hand it to me. And it doesn't matter what they hand to you. You're going to use the one that you need, which is going to be the bottom packet. If they hand you the bottom packet, you say, great. You take the cards and you slide these out of the way, set them down and have them cut. Or if they hand you the discard half, the top half, you take that pile and set it aside. Then you say, you have them cut this into 2 even packs. They do that, and immediately you reach out and you crisscross force, which is what I did in this presentation. Very powerful. The time delay misdirection is inherent. It's built right in. I can come over here to the pack they didn't use. I can show these cards and say, now you could have gone with this pack and this extremely shuffled pack of cards, but you went with this one and you cut to this card. And then I slide off the bottom card, lay it out there, and then I can take these cards, spread them as well. And of course, you could have cut at any one of these cards, but instead you arrived at this one particular card right here. Now at the beginning, I took out these two, the Queen of Hearts, the Three of Diamonds, not because I have an interest in either one of these in particular, but I like the value of the Queen and the suit of the 3, which gives us the Queen of Diamonds. And then you give a pause, take a look at the card, let the tension raise, they kind of catch up mentally to what is going on here. And to them, they've done every single thing. They have shuffled the cards. From the beginning, it was shuffled. The selection was made from a shuffled deck. They continued to shuffle them more. They made choices on packets. This is really, really, really powerful. Slightless magic. There's really no sleights going on in this at all. Completely impromptu. And of course, the card is the Queen of Diamonds. So that's a really, really good overlooked approach. Not by professionals, but by a lot of amateurs, I think, that look at the book, look at the collection, and you see something like that, and you presume that it's process heavy, right? That's an awful lot to go through just to make a selection. But again, if you kind of flip the script, and rather than making a selection at the onset of a trick, but rather make a revelation out of it, you now have free agency of revelation from a shuffled deck of cards. That's really, really strong application. So just in those 2 entries, you can do that. So Animan gives an entry for forcing 2 cards and then another one for forcing 1 card using the variations that we talked about here right now. So very strong magic, pretty powerful. You could really build a routine off of this sort of premise and do a number of tricks that involve impromptu shuffling in selections and revelations from spectator-directed shuffling that allows you to really be completely hands-off and come down to known outcomes in a very, very fair-looking, very clean-looking way. In spite of the process, it's incredibly clean, very deceptive. So good luck with that. Happy magicking.